Now it's time for the bucket pour. This is one of my favorite activities. So this is all about pouring water down a slope and seeing what happens when you create a river. So we're going to change a few things. We're going to pour it more than once, and we're going to see what happens when you change one of those things. And those changes, those things I'm talking about, are called variables. Fancy science word. So, pouring water, making a river, observing what happens. Here's what you need. At least one bucket, preferably 2 buckets. And if you don't have a bucket around, anything that holds water will work. So if you have a pot or a bowl or a plastic container of some sort, and even a plastic bag will work in a pinch, although it can get a little messy. So whatever you have around the house that can hold water, and at least 2 of them is going to work the best. You're also going to need your handy dandy notebook and something to write with. And as always, never forget your brain. On this first pour, you're going to need one of those buckets filled up with water, and then head outside and find your slope. Try to find a hill that is not too steep but not too flat, that you know that water is going to travel down, and it's in an area that's safe. So you don't want to be pouring a bucket of water on your driveway and creating an ice slick before your parents get home. Pick your spot wisely. And as always, before you start, make a prediction. What do you think is going to happen? Where's the water going to go? Is it going to curve? Is it going to go straight? Is it going to be wide, skinny? And then go for it. Dump the whole bucket out at once and see what happens. And try to put a rock or something at the top of your river so that you pour the bucket on the same spot every time. It really helps with consistency for your experiment here. Now it's time to record your results. So open up your activity booklet until you see activity 3, the bucket pour, and then you're going to find the first row here in this table says first pour, none. So that's our variable. That's the thing that we're going to change each time we do this experiment. So the first time we're just going to run what we call a control. So we're going to do the test just as normal. So go ahead and record your observations. Think about things like, did it carry rocks and sand and debris? Did it take a turn in some strange way? Did it go farther or not as far as you thought in your prediction? Go ahead and write a few ideas that you have. What did you notice? Now we're going to up the game a little bit. This one requires at least 2 buckets, and if you have any more buckets and more people than that, feel free to get as many as 5. Fill your buckets up with water, go back to that same slope, and remember to pour it on the same spot or the rock that you put at the top of your river to make sure that it travels in a similar path. And make another prediction. Do you think that the water is going to travel in exactly the same way as it did in your first round? What'll be different? It's time to record results again. So this pour, you had an increased volume. You had more water traveling down that same slope. So what did you notice this time? Record your results in that second box. For pour 3, you're going to find a different substrate. So what that means is a different type of ground to pour your water down. So instead of returning to that same spot, this time you're going to pick an area that has, if you did it on dirt, then you will do one on grass, or on a hill that has trees and plants and dirt, or on a hill that has concrete. Pick a different surface. So go ahead and write down a few things that you noticed. And one thing that I would encourage you to do is compare them to your other pours. This one's going to require a little bit more thought. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to build a house on the banks of the original river where you did your first 2 bucket pours. So that house can be made of rocks, sticks, leaves, anything that you can find around that you think would make a good house. Next, you need to think about how are you going to protect your house against erosion when we have a flood. So we're going to do another one of those flood pours where we have 2 or 3 different buckets of water that you pour down. So what are you going to build around your house to save it so that it doesn't get eroded by the water? And then as always, don't forget to make a prediction and then go for it. Use at least 2 or 3 different buckets of water. See if your house survives. So you're going to record your results from this pour. What happened? Where did the water go? What did it do? How was it different from all of these other pours that you have done? Once you get your observations in here, then you can move on to this page here, which is asking for you to draw your river and your house, and also what you designed to keep the town safe from flood erosion. So that's your mitigation practice. So maybe your river and then you can always add any words that you want to describe what happened as well. If it doesn't show it with the picture, you can always add words as well.